Welcome, everybody. Sorry about the delay. I'm Brandon Plant from Sens, and we're here joined with Trevor Shackles. He writes for the Hockey Buzz for the Senators, and we're going to discuss a few things, specifically the huge news out of the nation's capital yesterday with Erik Karlsson being traded. So, Trevor, what was your instant reaction to that?
Instant reaction. I mean, I think we all knew this trade was coming, especially with what was being said the past few days. It seemed like a trade was imminent, at least before training camp officially started.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I was expecting it. I think it was definitely a surprise to see that he went to San Jose. I
yeah,
was expecting a team like Vegas or Tampa Bay to swoop in. So I'm surprised there. I was also definitely very underwhelmed with the package, and I think most fans are. I mean, obviously, nobody wanted to see Carlson go, but it would have been a lot more palatable if someone like Cody Glass
yeah,
or maybe I don't think they were ever going to get Heiskanen, but a guy like Heiskanen, if he could have
yeah.
been in the return, then it would have been a lot more. Okay, at least we have some building blocks, but with the return they got,
It's
it
not good
doesn't
enough.
set you up for the future at all.
Yeah, like there's some interesting pieces. Josh Norris. Some people say he'll be a second, third liner. Balfors from Latvia. Some people say he could score 20-something goals in the league. He's a left winger, so there are some positives here. But like I agree with you. I was on TSN 1200 yesterday. In the video I made yesterday as well, the Senators in this deal needed to get a top tier prospect like a Cody Glass, Nick
Hmm.
Suzuki, Miro Heiskanen, Eric Brandstrom, something like that. It was needed, and they got none of it. So this, in a trade where you're trading the best player in franchise history, it doesn't matter about quantity because you could trade Stone and you could trade Duchene, which I don't agree with, but if they do, Carlson will get you the best potential package. So if you want to go for quantity, that you do that for like Duchene or for Stone, but you need to get the best quality player back for Erik Karlsson because you can't get quality players like somebody you can get for Erik Karlsson in the return, right? So
Yeah.
it's a
No.
big fail in my opinion for the Senators.
No, agreed. And I think the guys they got, Norris and Balsers, they're solid prospects. I think Corey
Yeah,
Pronman ranked them at seventh and eighth in the Senator system right now. And Norris actually had pretty similar numbers to Colin White in his draft season. So it's like getting another Colin White, and that's not nothing. But at the same
yeah,
time, pretty much every team has guys like this. So it's not like they can't get them. And who knows? They'll probably get someone similar like Balsers and Norris in the second round in the
yeah.
upcoming draft. So it's not like it's impossible to find these guys. Whereas some of the players that we were gawking over, like Glass, Heiskanen, Theodore, Sergachev, those are a lot harder to find.
Yeah. And I don't agree with the Senators trading Erik Karlsson. I don't think there is a reason to. Um, it's good for Karlsson now because he gets to be away from Eugene Melnick. But it was clearly evident in the press conference he had yesterday. He clearly wanted to stay in Ottawa, and it's unfortunate because you don't get a generational talent, first ballot Hall of Famer, game changer defenseman like that any day. We probably won't again, or if not for quite a long time. Thomas Chabot's to be a fine star in the National Hockey League, but he's no Karlsson. You just traded away uh, the backbone of your team, and the Senators are not going to be too good this year. That's a given. The Senators just gave up a big, big asset that should have been kept long term, and I think before we get into what the future of the Senators holds, I think we need to mention the fact that this repetitive pattern of like star players in the nation's capital, like Spezza, Yashin, Hossa, Heatley, obviously Alfie, Carlson. We could go on this list. The Senators can't keep their star players, and there's a certain breaking point where when Alfie left, it was like kind of divided, where some people were on Melnick's side, some people were on Alfie's side. I'm obviously on Alfie's side, but it was mixed. Everyone's against Melnick in this situation because everyone's finally seen what the damage he has done to the franchise, and this sets the franchise back many years, many years.
Yeah, I mean, this is an owner who it is going to be impossible. I see absolutely no way where the Senators are able to win the cup with him as owner, because you can't win in this league if you aren't willing to pay your star players, especially your star players in their prime. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't give me hope at all
No.
for Duchene and Stone, those contracts. Um, but also, I mean, moving forward, it's like why even get excited about, if you want to look at it really in a negative lens, like why even get excited about Kachuk and Fermenton and
Exactly.
Batherson
Yeah.
and Brown, all these guys, because if, once they get really good and too expensive, they're just going to be gone. So
Exactly.
it's hard to be optimistic when Melnick is still the owner, and nothing changes until he sells.
Nothing will. And I still believe when LeBreton's official, he will sell, but that's a long way away. So, you know, I agree. Nothing will change until Eugene Melnick sells the team. But there's also, like you said, with the pattern, speaking of Matt Duchene and Mark Stone, we'll get to, Kachuk and everything in a second, but let's move on from the Carlson trade because, I by now everyone's heard should I read out the return we got?
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just read it out real quick because I have it right here written down. So this is how the trade went last night. So Sanders acquired 4 players in this trade. The center Josh Norris, who we mentioned before, 2017 19th overall pick. Forward prospect Rudolph Balcers. Like I said, he could be a solid NHL player. Center Chris Cherney, who's going to be probably our second-line center this year, and defenseman Dylan DeMello. The Ottawa receives, and then there's a couple of second-round picks and a first-round pick most likely next year. So, we didn't get that first-round pick for this upcoming year, which was a big goal, and they failed on that. They failed on plenty of things in this deal, but let's move on now. Just giving you an idea of what we got back and why we discussed the trade as is. Now let's move on. This trade has a ripple effect because it's a domino effect, actually, because Carlson's now gone. So what happens with Stone? And what happens with Duchene? Do they both come back? Do they both leave? Or does one stay? Like, what happens?
Yeah, I just talked about this on the Cost Per Point cast, like last hour with Beata Elliott. And yeah, there's definitely a domino effect. I mean, Duchene last week talked about, he wants to stay in Ottawa if there's a plan. Like he wants to see what transpires over the next, few months until maybe February. And I think he's going to be definitely very influenced by Stone. But then again, also I think Stone is influenced by Carlson.
Yeah.
So if Carlson leaves, then Stone's probably going to want to go. And then, if Stone leaves, Duchene's probably going to want to leave. So even just if Carlson's gone, I don't know why either one of them would want to stay. So I can't be very optimistic about the possibility that either one of them stays. And it really sucks because they'll be getting a lot less in return than they should be, just because they'll be rental players.
It's unfortunate, before the last maybe 2-3 weeks, I was a believer that Mark Stone would for sure resign, and I was a believer that Matt Duchene might follow suit. But now, I'd just be happy Mark Stone resigned, and that's unfortunate because Matt Duchene, we gave up more than we got back for Carlson firstly, so he should be a goal to resign. But Mark Stone needs to be resigned. He's the best player on this team now for sure. He's a top 15, top 20 winger in the league. He's incredibly underrated, and he is the best forward we have. He's better than Duchene, in my opinion. They have different skill sets, but I think the whole package comes with Stone. And now you gave up Carlson. The building's going to be half empty every game for sure. And now you're going to lose Mark Stone, most likely, and even more likely, or Matt Duchene. So let's move on now, because until something happens, we don't know. We don't know what to say about those two. Minus the fact that we both agree. I think Mark Stone might resign. There's a high chance he will stay. I think Matt Duchene's going to be traded, though. That's just my opinion. Or the other way around. I think one of them are going to stay. One of them is going to stay, but not both. That's just my opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised if both left. That's just my 2 cents of things.
Yeah, no, I could see one of them staying, but I'm not going to expect it at this point, just because expecting anything positive, honestly, is kind of foolish. I don't know, setting the bar low.
That's the way you got to do it when you're a Sens fan.
Yep.
Moving on now, there's some good prospects, You got Tom Chabot, you got Colin White, you got Brady Tkachuk, obviously, you got Formenton, Drake Batherson, Logan Brown. You got some good prospects, and you got Wolainen and Yaros on the back end as well. Who excites you the most, and who do you think can take a big step this year and contribute a lot to the team?
I think a few. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of prospects in the lineup.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a big believer in Christian Wolainen. I think that he's
Yeah.
gonna. I think there's no reason why he shouldn't be on the second pairing the entire year behind Chabot on that left side. So he definitely really impressed me in the 10 games that he played. I think he needs some work in the defensive zone, but I think he's also a guy who can contribute offensively, and I'm really excited to see him. So I think he's going to have an impact. And then up front, I'm also really excited about Logan Brown and Brady Tkachuk. I think that they'll be mainstays in the lineup. And then even besides them, I think White and Schlopik will probably be on the team the whole year. And then, I mean, there's even an outside chance that one of Batherson or Formenton get in there if there's an injury or something. So there's going to be a lot of guys. Now, I think with prospects, we've got to be careful because they're not all going to pan out.
Yeah.
And even if they do become NHL players, they're not all going to hit their ceiling. So I think we shouldn't necessarily expect all of them to play like fantastic in their first season. But I think a couple of them will be solid though.
I think, the blue line for the Senators is completely and utterly worse than it was a couple of days ago. That's a given. You just lost the best player in franchise history. But I think people are underrating this blue line because the first pairing got me scared first. To be fair, it does have me scared because Chabot, I trust him. Ceci, time and time again, proves he's not ready for the big-time minutes. And he's going to get the big-time minutes now, and we have no choice but to give it to him. The second pairing, like you said, I want Wolainen there. And then instead of Wyman being on the, I don't know why people want Wyman on the third line. I would love to see Wyman and like Wolainen or Yaros. I'm kind of forgetting. I think Wyman is a left. Right-handed.
Yeah,
righty. So you put him next to Wolainen's a righty. So I think Yaros and Wolainen are righties. So either way,
Wolainen's a lefty.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always get a little mixed up, because I'm focusing on Carlson. But so with that, I would put Wolainen and Wyman together. I think that's a great duo because Wyman and his advanced stats. I don't know advanced stats too well. I believe in it though, and from what I've heard and what I've sort of gathered, Wyman can be a power play quarterback. He has the skill and he has the skating and the puck possession numbers to show it. And then Wolainen has smooth skating. He's proven in those 10 games that he's not. He can control the pressure of being in the big leagues. So I would love to see those two together. And then the third pairing, you could obviously have Borowiecki because Melnick loves Borowiecki and he will be there. And then you can throw in Yaros, Harper. So I think
they got DeMello too. Don't forget DeMello.
DeMello. Oh, of course, DeMello.
Yeah.
My bad. So DeMello would go on that third pairing, and then you have Harper and Yaros as backup. And I like that. The blue line is weak, but it's not as bad as people say. And I know I'm biased, but I think people will see it's not as bad as people say.
I don't know. I think I disagree there. I think it's one of the worst, if not the worst, defense pairing decors in the league. I really, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I am high on Wolainen, and I do like Chabot as well. I just see everybody else as definite. Well, actually, no, I do like DeMello on the third pairing, but
and Wyman.
Oh man, like just the fact that I think if they got rid of Ceci, then that would definitely change things.
Yeah.
If they replace Ceci with like a competent, even like a second pairing guy.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have Ceci out there and then Borowiecki as well and Harper, because Harper's going to get some minutes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty low on their overall decor, but yeah, I mean they do have some interesting pieces, I'll at least say.
Yeah, I think if they just don't put Harper in, it's an inexperienced blue line. There's going to be growing pains, and I obviously don't think we're going to make the playoffs. That's a given. But I do think, though, it's going to be better than people think. And obviously, I agree with you. I agree with you with the Cody Ceci thing. That scares me. The first pairing, the most important pairing in the league. This is where it's going to kill the Senators because the first pairing is very weak. But I find the second and third pairing it's going to be good in a couple years if they keep Wyman and Wallin and Yaros are going to be good, and hopefully they'll get rid of Harper. I don't even know why he's still here, but that first pairing does concern me because Shabbat, is he ready for the first pairing minutes? I don't know, but CC's certainly not. So that first pairing scares me, and if anything, that is what's gonna make the blue line one of the worst, if not, like you said, the worst in the league this year. So I can't say I disagree with you. I can't agree with you fully, but I don't disagree with you, if you get what I mean.
No, totally get that. I think one guy totally changes the whole perspective of what the defense group looks like. So, yeah, he could definitely sink their whole value back there because he's going to be playing 25 minutes a night.
Yeah, and I could see what I see with this team is 2-3 years. I could see Yaros, Wyman, Shabbat, and Wallinen as top 4 guys. So give it a couple years, and I could see them, especially with the experience they're going to get this year. I can see that. But right now, without Karlsson, the back end is incredibly weak, and I can't disagree with you that because you just went from having a generational talent holding the blue line together to losing him and having a bunch of rookies out there. So it's going to be growing pains this year, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And I don't know how Boucher will react to that, but he's going to have to.
Yeah.
If he wants to. Moving on now, we go to the forwards, where the camps could be interesting because we just lost Pajot. It's official. He's out for about 6 months. Hopefully he'll come back sooner, closer to that timetable with an Achilles injury. He just had a surgery last night, or he's going to have one. So he's out. He's out for the year. So now you got to look at, I think Chris Turney will get the second line role, but I think Colin White will have some looks there. But right now, the team, the forward core for the team is inexperienced. But like what you look with Boston last year, you can see that rookies can surprise. I'm expecting a lot of things out of Colin White this year. He should have a big year because he's going to get the minutes, hopefully. And then as well, you got guys like Logan Brown. He should get some time. And he won't stay he'll probably play in Belleville more. But really, the 2 players who I expect to do the most for the Sanders this year, forward-wise, is Colin White, Brady Tkachuk, and Alex Fermenton. I don't think Drake Batherson is ready. He has the shot, but I think I'd rather him get more time to develop it. I can see Fermenton being ready, not for a full-time role, but definitely sometime. I think Tkachuk's ready with his skill and his speed, his skill and his frame. And Colin White, he's for sure ready. So what do you think for forward core, prospect-wise, and Schlappick, who do you expect to crack the lineup and to get big things out of this year?
I think out of all of those guys, I'd definitely be fine with keeping Fermenton down in London, just because last year I think he was exactly a point a game. I think it was like 48 and 48. So he's not exactly a guy who's lit up the lamp yet in the OHL, and I'd like to see him take that next step and dominate in his final season. So I think he'd be fine in the NHL level, but I don't think he would be like a game changer or anything. Yeah. And obviously his speed, he's going to instantly be one of the fastest players in the league. But with how many other prospects there are that are older than him, I'd be fine with keeping him in London. You mentioned Tkachuk. I think he's going to make the team. Just the fact that they already gave him number 7 and made a big deal about it, I think that signals that they're really high on him. Colin White, the fact that Pajot is out for a while, that maybe means that he'll play center, but there was some indication, at least yesterday, at least before Pajot got hurt, that he'd get a chance maybe on the first line as a right winger.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. So that's an option. I'm kind of back and forth on White. I've like in 16-17 I was, or sorry, 15-16 I was really high on him.
Yeah.
And then the year after kind of meh. Last year was could have been better. But then other guys like Brown, I think if anybody was going to take that second line spot, I'd want it to be him rather than Tierney, because Tierney doesn't really have that upside. But I'd love to see what Brown could do on the second line. Yeah. And then who else? Yeah, like Batherson. I think he should just spend some time in Belleville first, because I think we're kind of overrating him a bit. Like I'm definitely excited. Batherson.
Drake? Yeah, Drake Batherson.
I think we're excited. it's you can be excited about him, and I am,
Yeah,
but he's pretty much had one good season in the
yeah,
queue, and
exactly.
we have to see what he can do at the AHL level first. And if he rips it up, then great, then call him up when he's ready. But I'd take it a bit slower with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think your interesting comparison with the Bruins is, um, I mean that's definitely a good point because rookies can have a huge impact on a team
Yeah,
and can change how a team looks. But at the same time, like I wouldn't expect the Senators rookies to have that sort of impact just because if you look at the Bruins roster, those rookies were being supported by incredibly talented players like
that's true too.
that amazing first line with Pasternak, Bergeron, and Marchand. I mean, that is just if you're playing with any one of those guys, that
Yeah,
is just incredible. So I think Ottawa's supporting cast is obviously a lot
not
worse.
yeah.
So I think I think some of these guys might be able to put up 30, maybe 40 points, but I'm not expecting them to be first line players right out of the gate.
I think I'm not as high, and I have never really been that high on Colin White. When we drafted him, I did my research. I'm like, oh, he was. If it wasn't for injuries, he would have been top 10. But I've always believed we should have taken Travis Konechny after Thomas Chabot. I still do believe that because right now, Konechny is the better player. He's a bona fide top 6 player. He gets 50, 60 points a game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
now I think Colin White's gonna be a fine NHL player. He's taking his time. I'm not saying he's not gonna be a good player, but right now, and I still hold my opinion on this, especially since Konechny was from Ottawa, and that would have been a nice connection. You know how they are with their local kids. It would have been nice to see them take Konechny, and I will always hold that opinion until Colin White proves me wrong. Hopefully he will. Hopefully he will. But right now his development's taking a really long time. I still believe in him, but I want to see a good 30, 40 point season out of him at least to get some hope back in him. I want to see a productive season out of Colin White. He needs it, especially if he's on the top line.
Yeah, and it seems like he's probably more suited for a third line role,
Yeah.
and that's fine. It's just, you expect more sometimes from some of these guys, but um, I think I definitely think that like he's still I think 21 years old, so he has
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, for sure.
He has had 3 seasons since he's been drafted, so I think that this is definitely an important year for him. He's got to improve that he's got to prove that he can stick at the NHL level.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he is going to be used more as a right winger or as a center. But yeah.
I think personally, in my opinion, what would be better for his development because Colin White, he has some offensive skill, and what I personally rather see is Duchene with Ryan Dzingel or Brady Tkachuk on the left wing there, and then on the right wing, um, I would like to see Colin White there because you got Matt Duchene with them. They could hopefully get some chemistry, and I would love to see him there. Him or Mark Stone, obviously, but I prefer White because we're in that rebuild phase, and there's no point of not giving Colin White top time minutes, showing what he can do, at least for 10 games, see what he can do. Because on the second line, Mark Stone, you need to distribute the quality of player. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I would love to see White and Stone and Duchene together, but I think White could do fine with him. And then you could put Stone on the second line, and then for the left winger there, like it's incredibly thin. Maybe Tkachuk goes there, maybe Dzingel. You that top 6 is very fluid, right? So
Yeah.
you can definitely move it around. But the center, I would love to see Logan Brown get some minutes there. Just because, yes, unlike Colin White, Logan Brown's just a massive hockey player. He has the frame to be ready. He has the hockey sense, like Colin White does too. I'm high on Colin White, but not as high as I used to be. But with Logan Brown, I prefer him to get some time in the National Hockey League. But even though it's not the best option, I'd rather just have Chris Cherney there splitting time with Colin White. You know what I mean? Just so he gets the development there, but he also gets his confidence up with him playing with Matt Duchene. I think that second center role is up for grabs. You have Cherney, you have Colin White, you have Logan Brown, even Schlappick maybe. So there's some guys that could take that role. right now, what I personally see is Colin White playing on the right wing and then maybe adjusting to a center role later in the season.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely the second line center spot is the biggest, most glaring hole in this team right
Yeah.
now. I guess obviously also a first pairing defenseman,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you said, there are probably four guys battling for that second line center spot, and I think it would be a massive boost for the team if Brown can prove himself as a second line center, or maybe even first, because I think he's the most likely out of those players to fit the best in that role.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure the other guys will get a chance as well. And like you mentioned with White, I think it'll be interesting to see how he does playing with some more skilled players because
Yeah.
he got a lot more bottom 6 minutes
Yeah.
this past season. So if he does play with Duchene, maybe get some chemistry, um, then maybe he can produce. But at the same time, I want it to be real sustainable production. I don't want it to be production kind of like that Zach Smith had when he was playing
Yeah.
with Mark Stone, because that was, most of that was just because he was playing with Stone.
Yeah. And I think what we can see in this season is I think the team is I'm not trying to be I know I'm biased. I think the team is going to be better than people say. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to get 80 something points. I don't know if they're definitely going to be in the bottom 10, but it's going to be a little fluid there. I don't know because I look at Montreal, and unless Carey Price stands on his head every game and somehow doesn't get injured, I think the Senators have a better roster than them. There's a few teams I see the Senators doing better than, but I know they won't make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be dead last. I think they'll be in the bottom 5 to the bottom 10. But that all can change with a huge season out of Brady Tkachuk, Logan Brown, Colin White, etc. That all can change.
Yeah, it's a huge ask. It's
It is.
also sad that people are resigning to the fact that a finish, from like 26th, or sorry, 20, what would it be, 22nd to 26th overall
Yeah.
is a good season or a better season than people are expecting. But yeah, there are definitely some teams out there. Like, I mean, Detroit has a pretty putrid roster.
Yeah.
Montreal, like you mentioned, could finish low. So yeah, there's and with the NHL, like it's so close, and like if you
Yeah.
just get some better luck, you could easily pick up 6, 7 extra points.
And Anderson.
And sorry, say it again.
Sorry to interrupt, but as well, this at least average or tiny bit below average goaltending
Yeah,
will
I know.
help.
I was gonna say that too. I mean, like that's a huge difference if they can get average goaltending. That's at least several extra wins. So it's the bottom is going to be close, and hopefully they finish as high as they can, just so it really minimizes that. I guess the sting that the fan base is going to feel.
Yeah. I think what I see here, and it's kind of disturbing in a way. The 2013, between 2013 and 2015, after 2011 when they were trying to do that rebuild, and then 2012 they went with Kyle Turris to the lost in 7 to the Rangers. I kind of see a resemblance. I don't want them. I rather us. The thing is, we don't have our first round pick this year, which is the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing because Pierre Dorion is a complete and utter idiot. But we'll get to that later, if you want. But what the thing I see with this team is the Senators roster right now. It's asking a lot from rookies, but they still have some skilled players, and I think they're going to do better than people say. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm just saying you look at Colorado from like 50-something points or like 45, 50-something points 2 years ago to playoffs for 90-something points just because they had better goaltending, same roster. It's possible that we could do better this year, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, just normal regression to the mean in terms of overall luck. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much everything went wrong last year. So, yeah, that Avs team 2 years ago was one of the worst we've ever seen. So, yeah, I think maybe there exists a possibility where they get 80 points. But even 80 points is going to be 10 points at least out of a playoff spot,
Yeah.
probably.
And I want, for the first time, I at least want the Senators to be mediocre, like in the 80-something point range. That way, the odds of the Colorado Avalanche getting a high pick is lower, and
Yeah,
that would make me feel so much better, you know?
for sure. I mean, but then also it'd be hilarious if they finish 11th and then win the lottery anyway. So
Yeah, that's something that would happen to the Senators. So I'm holding my breath because I know for a fact it's gonna it's I have a pretty good sense and good feeling that the Senators are going to give up the first overall pick, but we'll have to, it's just something the Senators would something that happened to the Senators.
yeah,
Couple last things. Secondly, two last things. So obviously we're not going to cover too much, but Gustafsson, Hogberg, I'm pretty high on Gustafsson. I think they're going to be good in a couple years. Would you agree?
yeah. I like Gustafson. He's probably going to end up splitting time with Mike McKenna this year in
Yeah.
Belleville. Yeah, he's still pretty young. He's only 20 years old,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think if he can have a solid season in the AHL this year, maybe like a 915 save percentage, then I'm going to be pretty damn optimistic about him. But the fact that he was playing in the SHL at a pretty young age
Yeah.
is definitely very encouraging. And yeah, I mean he's the best chance they have at having a new starting goalie in a few
Yeah.
years.
I agree. Two more things before we wrap it up. Firstly, the player they got, Bulfers from Latvia. I read an article from Don Brennan saying he can compete for a roster spot, and then I saw on Twitter, for Murray Pam, a writer for the Sporting News at Canada, they are saying that Bulfers can be, like I said before, a 20-goal scorer. And you know what? With that weak left side that we have, Distasingel and Kachuk, I think Bulfers has a chance to make the lineup this year. Not enough people are talking about him. He led the team in San Jose with the Barracuda in the AHL with 23 goals, 48 points in 63 games, I believe. So I think there's a decent chance he can make the roster in my opinion, from what I've heard.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. I like some of the other guys, some of the other prospects that the Senators have. Like I wouldn't mind if he did start the year in Belleville just to see what he can do and um, see what he can do on a worse roster because
Yeah,
I think San Jose was like a decent team. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, he'll get some time in Ottawa for sure too. I mean, there'll be some injuries, so he's definitely interesting. He's probably the asset, or at least the player that I'm the highest on in this trade. And his point rates, like his points per 60 and stuff, were of first line caliber for in the
yeah,
AHL. So I'm kind of excited about him.
yeah.
Obviously, that's not a guy that you want to be the centerpiece of your Carlson trade, but he's a guy who has potential to be, at least a second line winger. So yeah, it's exciting.
I think that's a hidden part of the deal. I think too many people are paying attention to Josh Norris, but I think Bulfers might be the best player, not including draft picks, that comes out of this deal. Well, that's just my opinion, but we'll have to see. Um, Besides that, I want to say one more thing. Um, with Pierre, do you have word like with the title of this live stream? So what's next for the Senators?
hmm
5 years, the next layout, not like too long, but like year by year, the next 5 years. Where do you see the Senators?
You want me to go year by year?
But very, yeah, like, yeah,
Okay. Ooh, I have no idea. I mean, this year they'll be terrible, I think, but probably bottom five, I think. Um, Year after that, probably still bad, maybe slight improvement. I see. I think maybe by that fifth year, they're back to being like solid again
yeah,
and like close to contending at least, or like challenging for a top three spot
yeah,
or maybe even top two spot. So I think that the next
2 3 years.
at least the next 3 years are going to
Yeah,
be a struggle. I think they'll be bad. After that, though, hopefully it changes. I'm not sure because I think there'll be a definite change once they move to LeBreton. I don't know what year that's going to be. Like maybe that might not be for another like 5 years or so, or even more. But I think once that happens, hopefully there's going to be a new ownership, more spending,
yeah,
maybe better front office, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if in like a year or a year and a half from now, Dorion is gone as well.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he had that, I think it was it a 3-year extension?
3 years.
I don't know. He's here for a long time, but
Another 2 years.
another two. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I think if they're not improving, then Melnick can't reasonably keep him here. So, I could definitely see Dorion gone, but yeah.
One comment from Canadian Taco here. Do you think Ottawa could pick Karlsson up if he becomes a unrestricted free agent?
If Melnick's here, no.
Yeah,
no chance.
I agree. I think the only way he comes back, and I don't think he'll come back, but if he comes back, it's with the new owner.
Has to be.
And has to be in the next year. So
yeah,
don't keep your hopes up, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Karlsson's likely gone. Never will be a center. Probably won't be center if he ever will be for a long time.
Yeah.
I can see one thing, though. I can see Karlsson coming back like Alfie did, especially when there's a new owner, in some type of office role.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, probably 12, 15 years from now. But yeah, I can see that.
It's just unfortunate we have to hope for that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Until Melnick's gone, it's going to be the same status quo. So.
I agreed.
Anyways, so thanks, Trevor, for joining the show. Trevor, why don't you tell the viewers where they can read your stuff and follow you and etc.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at ShackTS, and then I am writing at hockeybuzz.com as well. And then I just came out with an episode today on the Cost Per Point cast, my podcast. That's on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all that stuff. But yeah, those are all the things.
Well, thank you, Trevor. I appreciate you joining. For the remaining Sens fans, I appreciate you guys following along throughout this, roller coaster year. We're going to do another year of videos at least. It's going to be a rough year, but we'll see what happens. So besides that, follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_. Just want to announce something real quickly here. I'll go through it again in the next video. And then about in a week and a half, maybe 2, we should be doing a live stream interview with Nicole Anderson. Been looking very forward to doing that. So stay tuned for that. I just have to work some things out with the organization. So stay tuned for that. But besides that, follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_. Please subscribe to us. I appreciate you guys for watching the live stream. And I'll see you guys soon. Go Sens go.